Alright, in this last video of this playlist, we're going to be solving more equations again. This time we'll be introducing quadratics into our equations. So therefore there will be more than one solution, so we have a very good chance that we might have some extraneous solutions. And then if I do, then I'll explain those in greater detail. Alright, so the first thing we have to do is we got to get rid of these two denominators. So that means we multiply by the common denominator, so which would be x plus 7 and x. So that means I'm going to multiply every single term by my common denominator. So then I have x times x plus 7 times 1 minus x times x plus 7 over 12x. Okay, so those cancel, so I got 12 times x, which is 12x. Nothing cancels, I'll multiply the whole thing out, so in other words, that's x times this times 1, so it'll be x times x is x squared, x times 7 is 7x. Here the x's cancel out, so now I multiply a negative 12 and distribute through that, so it'll be negative 12 times x is negative 12x. Negative 12 times 7, which is negative 84. Alright, see here, got a quadratic. Alright, so that means I got to get everything on the same side now. So since this is already positive, I'm going to bring the 12x over. So I'm going to subtract both sides by 12x. Oh, before I do that, sorry, I want to combine like terms on this side. So we have x squared, 7 minus 12 is what, negative 4x, and then minus 84. Oops. Sorry, it's 5x. Alright. Now I'll subtract the 12x from both sides. So that gives me x squared minus 17x minus 84, and that's now equal to 0. So for quadratics, we can either solve this by factoring or solve by using the quadratic formula. Alright, so let's see if factoring works. So the factors of 84 are 1 and 84, 2 and 42. Let's see, 3, 84 divided by 3 is 28. 4 and 21. Alright, and there's more, but I want to subtract those factors to get 17, and that's 21 minus 4. Alright, so that is factorable. So I have x, 4 and 21. I'm subtracting, so that means signs are opposite. That means one of these is positive and one of these is negative. This sign right here tells me that the bigger number, the 21, excuse me, must be the negative. So therefore that one's positive. Now I set each of these equal to 0. So here x is equal to negative 4 and x is equal to 21. Now I have two solutions. So what I have to do now is come back up here and make sure that neither of these denominators go to 0. So I got to check both answers. So negative 4 plus 7, does that give me a 0? No. Put negative 4 in here, that's not 0, so therefore negative 4 works. 21 plus 7, is that 0? No, so that works there, and that works there, so therefore both answers work. So there's no extraneous solutions. Alright, so before we do the next example, let me go over extraneous solutions again. What that means is that I could have more answers. Let's say for example I have 3 possible answers here. These two work, but then when I plug this one in, it made one of these two denominators go to 0. If that's the case, then that cannot be a solution. So that's called for an extraneous solution. I mean something extra that shouldn't be there. Alright, an extra solution that doesn't work. Well, in this case, we don't have any extra solutions. Right? Let's look at the last example. All right, common denominator, 2x, 2x, x plus 1. Well, I don't need to write these twice because they're the same, and this is different. So my common denominator would be 2x and x plus 1. So I got to take this and multiply by every single term. So 2x times x plus 1. We're going to multiply that by the first term. Then we're going to take minus, we'll take the next term, which is 5 over 2x, equals, then of course, the last term. All right, so those cancel, so 3x times 2x is 6x squared. See, now we got quadratic, so that means as of right now, we are going to have to use the quadratic formula or factoring in order to solve this. All right, but we won't know for sure until we're done the rest of this. 2x cancels, so I got negative 5 distribute, so it'll be negative 5x, and then negative 5 times 1 is negative 5, equals. The 2x is canceled, so I got 3, and I distribute, so 3 times x is 3x, and then 3 times 1 is 3. All right, it is a quadratic, so I got to bring everything over to the same side. Minus 3x, so that's 6x squared minus 8x minus 5 is equal to 3. Subtract 3, so 6x squared minus 8x minus 8 is equal to 0. All right, so I want to solve this. Well, I noticed that all three terms can, all three terms, have something in common, which all of them are divisible by 2. So I'm going to factor out 2. All right. Now I'm going to look at that. Since this does not have a variable, I no longer need it. All right. Now, if that was a variable there, then that would be part of my solutions. All right. So now I can just focus on the 3x squared minus 4x minus 4. All right, so we can try factoring, or if you don't like doing factoring, then you can always use the quadratic formula. All right, and so in this case, I'm going to use the quadratic formula because in the last case, I factored it. All right, so that we have a little review of both. A is equal to 3, B is equal to negative 4, C is equal to negative 4. So the formula states negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So let's plug those in. So this becomes positive 4. Negative 4 squared is positive 16 minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a.
3 o'clock activity buses will be arriving shortly.
All right. So now let's simplify it inside the radical. So we got 4 plus or minus the square root of, let's see here, 16. So you got negative 4 times 3 times negative 4. So that gives me 48. So we got 16. This right here becomes positive. So it's 16 plus 48, which gives me 64. Oh, that's going to be nice. All right, so square root of 64 is 8. So now, let's write my two answers. 4 plus 8, and then divide by 6. And I'm going to do 4 minus 8 divided by 6. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, divided by 6 is 2. This is negative 4 over 6, which is negative 2/3. All right, so there's my two possible answers. All right, so it could be that or it could be that. So we're going to go and check. I put 2 in here. 2 plus 1, is that 0? No. Is 2 times 2 0? No. So that means that is a solution. I put negative 2/3 plus 1, is that 0? No. Negative 2/3 times 2? No. So that means I have a solution here. All right? And again, there's no extraneous solutions in this problem. All right? So that ends that playlist.